Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the lessons I have learned from Reshma Saujani's brilliant book, Brave Not Perfect. This is a book that has absolutely changed my life, and in fact, I've loved it so much that I bought 4 copies for women in my family. I will link the book in the description box below, the link to Amazon as well as the link to the audiobook because, we're busy moms, we don't always have the time to read. So Reshma Saujani starts with a simple observation. Most women stick to doing only the things that they're good at. We tend to go for jobs that we know we'll be great at. We only pursue opportunities that make us feel confident and comfortable. And Reshma gives a ton of examples throughout her book of women who have genius business ideas but don't go after them because they don't know how to run a business, or they have no prior experience in doing so, or they're convinced that they just won't be good at it. She talks about women who aren't particularly happy or excited about their current jobs but stay because they're good at it, and so it feels safe and reassuring. She talks about women who don't chase their dreams, who don't take on new challenges because they're too afraid to fail or look foolish. For instance, Reshma mentions a study that showed that women tend to only apply for jobs when they meet 100% of the required qualifications, whereas men apply when they only meet 60% of the qualifications. They aren't worried about failing or looking foolish, they just jump right in. They try, they take on challenges, and if they start a business that fails, then they go on to start another one. So what's the difference between men and women? Well, Reshma argues that there's a stark difference between how girls and boys are socialized in early childhood. And so of course, as I first approached this book, this was the angle that I was most interested in as the mother of a little girl. But I ended up learning much more from the book than just that. So girls are taught to play it safe. Parents and teachers naturally tend to protect girls more from disappointment and failure. And, we encourage them to focus on things that they're good at and, avoid the things that they're not so good at. We overprotect little girls and we don't push them to try things if they're afraid or apprehensive. In other words, we cocoon them, and by doing so, we actually prevent them from building resilience. And we are teaching them that bravery is the domain of boys. And on the other hand, we constantly praise them for being polite, nice, helpful, agreeable, and likable. We change their clothes immediately when when they get dirty, and we keep fixing their hair. And so all of this is teaching our little girls to be perfectionists. And we are planting in their minds the belief that they are, that if they're anything but polite and agreeable and likable, that they will be judged and rejected. Little boys, on the other hand, are taught to be tough, to play rough, to explore, to try new things, and to, quickly get over disappointment and failure to keep trying. We teach them to be adventurous. We reward them for taking risks. We want them to give it a go, even if they're a little scared or apprehensive at first. We encourage them to be assertive and loud. One may even argue that little boys have the opposite problem, where they don't really have the space to express their feelings and sensitivity, which leads them later on as adults to struggle talking about their feelings and to struggle seeking help when they need it. But to get back to girls, the result is, by the time we grow into women, we are perfectionists, risk-averse, and terrified of failure. We fear other people's judgment, and so we hold ourselves back. We'd rather not try than risk the embarrassment that we associate with failure. We don't speak our mind in team meetings because we worry that what we have to say isn't intelligent enough. We don't volunteer for projects because we don't have prior experience in that area. We don't go for jobs that we aren't 100% sure we will be great at. In other words, we are paralyzed by fear of not being good enough and of being rejected. How many times do we tell ourselves, I'm just not good at that, or I don't know enough about this, and let opportunities and brilliant ideas pass by? And as Reshma puts it, the need to be perfect holds us back in so many ways. We don't speak up for ourselves because we don't want to be seen as pushy, bitchy, or just straight up unlikable. And when we do speak up, we agonize and overthink how to express ourselves, trying to hit just the right note of assertiveness without seeming too bossy or aggressive. Can you relate to that? I definitely can. So Reshma mentions a study that showed that on difficult assignments, bright girls in 5th grade were more likely to give up, whereas bright boys were more likely to redouble their efforts. And Reshma also talks about her organization, Girls Who Code, which, teaches girls to code. And she says that all teachers have reported the same behavior. During an assignment, girls will call the teacher and say that they're stuck, and when the teacher looks at the page, it's blank. But when the teacher presses the undo button a couple of times, a code appears on the page. And so the student did give it a go. She had tried some stuff, but she had deleted it. She would rather show a blank page than an imperfect page. She would rather show nothing than show a failed attempt. And so in both of these examples, the girls in 5th grade and the students in the Girls Who Code program, we see that the behavior is the same, in a 5th grader, in a young adult. And, as I was reading this led me to asking, I'm almost 30 and I still have this behavior. We would rather give up than risk failing and looking foolish. But girls, would you imagine if we didn't have such a harsh inner critic? If we didn't constantly have the overpowering need to please and this crippling fear of being rejected? If we saw failure as an opportunity for growth and as something to be proud of? One more experience under our belt? How liberating would it be to freely chase our dreams and ambitions without being afraid to be embarrassed if it doesn't work out, and without tearing ourselves apart if we experience some setbacks? And so Reshma highlights the importance of having a growth mindset. Have a great business idea but don't know how to run a business? Well, guess what? Most men who start a business don't either, but they figure it out as they go, and so we can too. Every challenge can be seen as something that we can figure out. Do you have an awesome idea for a digital product but you have no knowledge of social media marketing to reach your target audience? You can figure it out. Take an online course, watch tutorials on YouTube, buy a book. Do you have a brilliant idea that will revolutionize the customer service in your current company, but you're not sure how to implement it? You'll figure it out by trial and error, by talking to other professionals who may have some insights to share with you, maybe by getting your team to join your efforts and help you make it happen. An important point that Reshma makes is that perfection is not the same as excellence. When we are perfectionists, we set unreasonably high standards for ourselves and we constantly beat ourselves up for not reaching them. And as Reshma puts it, perfectionism actually impedes excellence. It causes us to overthink, over-revise, over-analyze, too much perfecting and not enough doing. And I'm sure you heard the saying, it's not perfect, it's finished. So, when you're trying to get your project to be perfect, you end up never finishing it because you're just constantly trying to tweak it, because you can never reach perfection. That's the whole point of perfection, right? So with perfection, it's an all or nothing game. We either fail or succeed, period. And so when you do fail, then you're likely to feel completely defeated and give up. But with excellence, you take pride in the effort that you put in. It's all about the process of getting there. In the second part of her book, Reshma shares loads of incredible strategies to build a bravery mindset and stop being afraid of failure and judgment. And I've loved reading that part because, as much as you can as a woman be aware of some of these patterns of behavior that you have, it's really nice to have some very concrete, practical strategies and advice that Reshma shares with us in this book. And I'm not going to mention all of them because there are many, and I would highly encourage you to read the book if you can relate to some of the behaviors and mindset that I have described earlier. But here are some of my favorite strategies. Set daily bravery challenges, starting small. Start before you're ready. Here Reshma talks about how each time we have a brilliant idea, we tend to talk ourselves out of it. And the main way that we do that is by telling ourselves that we're not ready yet. We put it off to someday, and it ends up never happening. And so she encourages us the next time we have an idea to start the process. Just take a small, tiny step in that direction, even if you don't feel ready. Say no more often. So stop wanting to please everyone and putting everybody else and their needs above yours. As Reshma put it, it's remarkably empowering to claim your right to you and put your life priorities above the mandate of making nice for the sake of everyone else. Make the ask. How many times do we stop ourselves from asking for help or asking for what we want because we don't want to be annoying or pushy? Ask for what you want without apologizing or automatically offering an out, for example by saying, "But if it's not possible, that's okay." Reshma also encourages women to be more supportive of each other. She calls it playing for Team Brave. It's the idea that we, women, instead of constantly being so judgmental of each other, should lift each other up and create a sisterhood where we support each other. And finally, in the last chapter, Reshma gives incredible insight on how to survive a big fat failure. This chapter alone is worth getting the book for. In short, Reshma recommends step 1, allow yourself a finite amount of time to really mourn what you have lost and throw a pity party. Step 2, celebrate your failure because we can celebrate the achievement of getting an answer, even if it's not the one we were hoping for. Step 3, shake it off, either by doing a physical activity or, if that's not your thing, doing an activity that gets you out of your head. Step 4, review, reassess, realign. Review what happened, reassess to look at the positive, what you've learned, how you've grown, the things that did work, and then realign with your purpose by remembering why you took on this challenge in the first place. And step 5, try again. This is a brilliant book that really touches upon so many things that I have felt and experienced as a woman, and it's made me look in the mirror and realize that I indeed lacked bravery. And so after reading this book, I took steps that I never would have imagined myself taking before. I created my online business, I started this YouTube channel, I started working with new clients, things that I had always wanted to do but was too afraid to try. And this book has helped me find the courage and bravery to get out of my comfort zone and reach for my dreams. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.